I'm Chris Nesi, host of Behind the Mic, Voices of the EPN, a part of the Education Podcast Network. Just like the show you're listening to now, shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com. Coming up on episode 243 of the House of EdTech podcast, I have got a great AI tool specific for social studies and history teachers, but don't tune out because I'm going to want you to share it with other people. And we're going to talk about the House of EdTech Final Four for 2024. And my featured content for today, we're going to talk about using your brain. Strike up the band. Welcome to the House of EdTech. My name is Chris Nesi. The House of EdTech launched in 2014, giving me the opportunity to speak with teachers, leaders, and creators so you can more effectively integrate technology, strengthen your pedagogy, and have more confidence in your classroom and school so you can make an impact. Get involved with the podcast by visiting my website, chrisnesi.com. Using technology isn't difficult, and this is where it begins. This is the House of EdTech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. If you're a returning listener, if you're a brand new listener, welcome. Maybe you first learned about House of EdTech from NJECC, or maybe you've seen what I've been tweeting about and sharing about on social media for the 2024 House of EdTech Final Four. Either way, thanks for making House of EdTech a part of your anytime, anywhere professional development. All right, as I just said, the House of EdTech Final Four is underway, and it's very simple. It is the original EdTech March Madness tournament. I've been doing this podcast for 10 years, and this is the 10th time that I'm doing the House of EdTech Final Four. It has taken different forms over the last decade, and here in 2024, I am again trying something different because I'm not afraid to try something. This year's EdTech Final Four is AI themed. I know, big surprise, right? So every tool that I have selected, and there are 32 EdTech things in this year's tournament, they're all in some way, shape, or form AI related. And I want you to vote. I need you to go each and every week over to chrisnesi.com/HoET Final 4, and that's the number 4, so you can see the bracket, you can vote each and every week, and if you're listening to this episode the day it came out, which is Sunday, March 17th, Round 1 voting has been open for a couple of days, and voting will be open a week at a time. So Round 1 is underway. So make sure you visit the website. The link is in the show notes at chrisnesi.com/243, or a swipe or a tap away where you're listening to this episode right now. And if you can remember it, go to chrisnesi.com/HoET Final 4, the number 4, and fill out your bracket. Use that hashtag on social media, HoET Final 4, and let's see which AI tool comes out on top. Some of these tools are very AI specific. They are large language models. Some of them are obviously specific to teaching and teachers, and some are Chrome extensions, but they are all in some way, shape, or form AI related or AI adjacent. And I want you to participate in this year's tournament. There's no prizes, but it would be cool if you put out the perfect bracket, right? So again, head over to the website, print out a bracket, fill one out digitally, electronically. I've had people do both, and let's see what you come up with. And of course, we will get all the way into the beginning of April, where I will reveal the Final Four, and we will see who comes out on top with you, the fan, who is voting. And may your actual March Madness bracket turn out really well. So participate in this year's House of EdTech Final Four. Now, let's get into this episode's recommendation. Okay, as I teased at the very start of this episode, here is a really interesting AI tool specific for social studies and history. Now, before you skip ahead because you don't teach social studies or history, I need you to listen to what I say and then share this with a social studies or a history teacher that you know, okay? So I need you to do the hard part. I'm going to share it with you, and then you share this with somebody else if you're not a social studies and or a history teacher. So I want to share with you Humy.ai, Humy.ai. And this is a platform designed to enhance social studies and history classes with AI tools. This offers personalized tutoring. It allows you to save time by generating assignments and providing feedback. And it also enables the creation of custom AI tutors and assignments. The platform also helps to generate study materials, lesson plans, as well as assignments very quickly through the power of AI. And Humy.ai is used by thousands of educators. I'm going to be trying it out because another really cool feature about it is you can let students use it and they can have chats with AI historical figures where behind the scenes they've done all the programming and all the fancy work where they can chat with, a George Washington, a Jackie Robinson, a Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, all these historical figures, Julius Caesar. Okay, so definitely something worth checking out if you want to use AI if you're a history and social studies teacher, and if you're looking for a way to get AI in front of your students, this could also be very valuable. And I think it is a valuable tool across elementary, middle, and high school, depending on what you want to do and what the policies are in your neck of the woods. For more information, you can visit their website, Humy.ai, and I will have a link in the show notes at chrisnessy.com/243, or it'll be a swipe or a tap away in the app you're listening in right now. And that's my EdTech recommendation. All right, let's get into the featured content for this episode. All right, dummy, it's time to start using your brain. Time out. Let me back that up. You're not a dummy. You are a human being with a perfectly well-functioning brain. And it's time that we use it, especially when we're using artificial intelligence. This is an acronym that I came up with, along with my wife, Caitlin, recently because we presented at a conference, NJECC, which is the New Jersey ISTE affiliate, and we did a presentation on artificial intelligence and not only the importance of using it as an educator like you and I, but also how can we empower the next generation to also effectively use artificial intelligence and integrate it into what they do, because that's the world we're living in, and AI is certainly going to be a part of what students are learning and the careers and the lives that they're going to be living. But for us, something we need to model is not just relying on what is AI going to do for us, but how we are interacting with it. And this is something that we can also and should instill in our students. And the acronym is called BRAIN. Now, BRAIN stands for be specific, relevance is key, adapt and ask for help, interact, and no yapping. I know, that's a funny one. Let's get into it. First, when we're talking about using our brain and using AI, we need to be specific. When we interact with AI, we need to have clarity. We need to be specific when we input our prompts. That's going to impact the quality of the output that we get. AI understands and responds based on the information that we give it. If you're vague or your question is overly broad, that's going to lead to more generic or even irrelevant responses. My advice, you need to clearly define what you're looking for and what you're asking for. If you're seeking information, provide as much context as possible. If you're asking for help on a project, outline the specific aspects where you need assistance. This approach will help the AI to generate more accurate and more useful responses. So that's what it means to be specific. Next, let's talk about relevance, because relevance is key. The relevance of the information you provide and the questions you ask plays a critical role in how you're going to interact with these large language models or image generating tools. Irrelevant details can confuse the AI, because remember, it's a bunch of zeros and ones. All right? We don't want to lead it down the wrong path. We want to focus on the core issue, and that's going to help us enhance the quality of the response that we get. My advice for relevancy is to stay on topic and ensure that the information that you share directly pertains to your question or the problem you're trying to learn about or interact with it for. Before you interact with an AI tool, consider what you want to achieve and then tailor your input to align with those goals. This focus on relevancy will help in obtaining more precise and applicable solutions. Next, we want to adapt and ask for help. So this is A. Now, what does this mean? AI, we know it's a powerful tool, and we've also learned in the last couple of years that it's not perfect. It may not always provide the desired answer on the first try. Being adaptable and willing to refine your question, or maybe you need to provide additional context, that's important when you want to have successful AI interactions. My advice here: if AI's response isn't what you expected, don't hesitate to rephrase your question, offer more details. You can just try again. It's also beneficial to explicitly ask for help or clarification when needed. This process can significantly improve the outcomes of your AI interactions. An example I'll give is I had to teach AI, I use ChatGPT for a lot of things, what it meant to write a 3-part objective. So, based on my definition and understanding of a 3-part objective, I can now ask AI to help me with objectives because, you're just like me. You've got these great ideas and you don't know how to make it sound educational sometimes. So this can certainly help when you're trying to put together a lesson plan or a project. So you've got to adapt, and it's actually critical thinking, right? When we kind of revise the prompts and we keep kind of going and tweaking what we're asking till we get the output the way that we want it to be. We've got to be adaptable. Next, I, and that stands for interact. AI is designed to be interactive, if you haven't figured that out already. Engaging with it through back and forth dialogue can enhance understanding and lead to better results. Each interaction is an opportunity to define and redefine and push AI toward your desired outcome. My advice here: treat your interactions with AI as conversations. Be polite, right? Say please, say thank you. These are meant to chat back and forth with. Don't be afraid to ask follow-up questions, seek clarification, or explore different angles on a topic. One thing that I do in some of the prompts that I write is, before I allow it to give me output, I'll include, ask me any questions that you need to ask, so that way it fully understands what I'm trying to do. So this active engagement can uncover new insights and lead to more effective solutions and output when you're interacting with a large language model. So that's what it means to interact. Now we're up to the final part of using your brain. And N stands for no yapping. Add this simple phrase to your prompt, and that will help to stop your AI tool from going on and on and on, especially if it's an LLM or a large language model. These LLMs are built to give output. So phrases like no yapping or keep it short or putting a word or a character limit will do just that. It will limit the output that you get. I've certainly learned over the last couple of years now that if you let it go, boy, does AI have a lot to say. And I only recently learned about this idea of no yapping. So try it for yourself. See how that impacts the outputs that you get. And ultimately, like I said at the beginning, you want to interact with AI? You want your students to interact with AI? Use your brain. Be specific. Remember that relevance is key. Adapt and ask for help. Interact with the AI back and forth. And sometimes you have to tell it not to yap. So I hope that you can employ these tips and this mindset as you and your students continue to engage with artificial intelligence. Before I wrap up this episode and say goodbye, I do want to give out a special thank you because on my last episode, I had my EdTech thought and I asked myself the question, am I doing enough? And I got feedback on that. So I want to specifically shout out Brooke and Leo and Derek and Steve, who took the time to Vox me, email me, DM me, and let me know that I'm actually kind of foolish for thinking that I'm not doing enough. And at least 4 people represent everybody who's listening who believe that I am doing enough. And a couple of them even wondered how I had the audacity to ask that question based on all of the things that I do. So I want to thank Brooke and Leo and Derek and Steve for taking time to really put a little more gas in my tank. I appreciate their kind words of encouragement and support. And if you didn't take the time to send me anything, that's perfectly okay. I understand that life is busy, you're teaching, you have family. I get it. But I'm still going to be here for you. I'm still going to be making these podcasts, not going anywhere. And I'm going to continue to push and improve where I think I can improve. And anytime you feel like sending me feedback, if you don't know how to do it, go to chrisnessy.com and there's voicemail, there's email. If we're connected on social media, you could certainly reach out to me that way. And thank you again for the feedback. Thank you for listening to this episode. You probably have something else that's important to do, so let's close it out. Thanks for listening to this episode of the House of EdTech. I invite you to subscribe or follow the podcast if you haven't done so already, so that way you can continue to make this a part of your anytime, anywhere professional development. To get the most out of the podcast, be sure to check out the show notes for this episode and all the episodes. You can find links to resources that I mentioned in each and every episode. For this one, go to chrisnessy.com/243, episode 243. The links are also a swipe or a tap away in the app you're listening in right now. Also want to put out this reminder, if you're listening in Google Podcasts, you need to find a new app. If you're listening on Android, I would recommend you check out Fountain or possibly Spotify. And if you're using Google Podcasts on, say, an Apple device, I would recommend Overcast or something like Cast-O-Matic. And really, you should probably check out some of these Podcasting 2.0 enabled apps. I'm going to have a little bit more to say about Podcast 2.0 in a coming episode. So just wanted to put that reminder out there. Also want to remind you that I genuinely enjoy hearing from you. I value your feedback and I value your perspective. I got some thoughts from Brooke and Leo and Derek and Steve, so you can certainly get on that list as well. Send me an email, feedback@chrisnessy.com, or you can leave a voicemail at chrisnessy.com/voicemail. Your input helps me create better content and improve the podcast. So be sure to share your thoughts with me. I am eager to connect with you. If you know someone who would benefit from listening to the House of EdTech, please share it with them. Share it on LinkedIn, Twitter, X, Instagram. Spread the word with the people in your school. I would love that. Your efforts help me reach a wider audience, and that will increase the number of people who get value from the show. Thank you in advance for sharing the podcast. Lastly, if you're getting value from the show, you might want to consider becoming an awesome supporter. I am incredibly grateful to those who support the podcast and give back. Thank you to Leo Calbush, Jeff Herb, Peggy George, Mike Messner, Matt Miller, Brian Carpenter, and Aaron Cummings. If you get value from the show and you want to become an awesome supporter, go to chrisnessy.com/awesome. Your generosity goes a long way. The next episode of the podcast is going to be episode 244, and that's going to come your way on March 31st, 2024. Don't forget to vote in the House of EdTech Final Four tournament. And until next time, thanks for learning with me, and remember, using technology isn't difficult. Just give it a try. I'm still here. Have you voted in the House of EdTech Final Four tournament yet? chrisnessy.com/HoET Final 4. That's the number 4. Talk to you in the next episode.